Welcome to this deep dive. So, based on the notes and excerpts you've shared with us, we're really getting into a historical puzzle today. It's fascinated people for, well, decades now.
That's right. We're looking into the, let's say, the mysterious fate of Subhas Chandra Bose. Your sources frame it as accident or cover-up.
Exactly. And our mission here is just to unpack the key points, the lingering questions that come directly from the material you provided. We want to shine a light on this freedom fighter's story and, well, the uncertainty around how it ended.
Yeah, and what's striking from your sources right from the get-go is how the sort of official story about someone so important like Bose was met with just immediate skepticism, so many competing ideas.
Right.
So this deep dive, using your points, will explore why those doubts popped up and why they've, stuck around for so long.
Absolutely. So, okay, to get the mystery, we kind of need to get the man first. Netaji, as he's often called. Your source material paints a picture of a very specific kind of leader, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah. According to the source, Subhas Chandra Bose was, well, a brave fighter for India's freedom, getting rid of British rule. His whole focus, the dream mentioned, was just that: make India free.
And the material draws a really clear line, sets him apart from, say, Gandhi.
That's a really key point in your sources, yeah.
Yeah.
It spells it out. He didn't buy into Gandhi's way, the peace approach for independence, no.
Yeah.
He believed in fighting the British with, force, weapons.
Very different strategy. And he didn't just believe it, he acted on it.
Oh, absolutely. Your material mentions he formed an army, the Azad Hind Fauj. You know it as the Indian National Army.
Right.
And he looked for help internationally.
Mm-hmm.
Went to places like Germany, Japan, trying to get support for his fight. Definitely a leader who took action, building alliances, pushing towards that one goal.
So you've got this really driven figure building an army, looking for allies, totally focused on freeing India. And then, 1945, the news breaks. And that's where this huge question mark appears.
That's it. The big news in 45, like your source says, was the announcement. Netaji died in a plane crash in Taiwan.
And the reaction initially, according to the material.
Well, obviously people were shocked. Very sad. But the crucial thing, and this is where the mystery really starts in your source, is that lots of people just didn't believe it.
So the skepticism wasn't something that grew over time. It was immediate.
Immediate, yeah. The material outlines these different reactions people had, the ones who doubted. Some just flat out said, no, he's not dead. Simple as that.
Okay.
Others thought, well, he's hiding, he'll be back. And then there was this other group, a big one, suspecting something fishy, saying, this is a cover-up. Something's not right here.
That phrase, cover-up, seems really central to how the source frames this whole thing. How does the material explain what it means by cover-up here?
Your source keeps it simple. A cover-up is just hiding the truth. It suggests, someone telling lies to protect someone, or maybe just the truth about what really happened to Netaji.
Okay, so based on those reactions, that definition, the main question your material wants us to wrestle with is pretty stark, isn't it?
It really boils down to, did Netaji actually die in that plane crash?
Mm-hmm.
Or was that whole announcement, part of some plan? A plan to hide the fact he survived, or maybe hide something else entirely? That's the core of the mystery we're digging into.
Right, let's unpack that. Because your material doesn't just say it's a mystery, it gives these specific points clues, maybe? Or missing pieces that really fed the doubt and kept these questions going. What's the first big point of doubt it mentions about the crash itself?
Okay, so the official story, as the source tells it, is Netaji's flying from Taiwan to Japan, the plane crashes, he gets badly hurt, and then he dies. Simple enough.
Sounds straightforward, but...
Exactly. The material right away says, hang on. Many people question this because there was just no clear proof.
And what kind of proof does the source say was missing? What weren't people seeing?
Your source points to a few key things. Nobody was ever produced. No photographs from the crash site or, the aftermath. Just a general feeling that there wasn't what it calls strong evidence to really lock down that official story.
Which naturally leads right into the second point. Your material really hammers home the missing body.
Precisely. The source makes a big deal of this. After the crash was reported, no physical body of Netaji was ever shown publicly, or even verified properly.
And why is that specific absence, the lack of physical evidence, so important for fueling the skepticism as the source sees it?
Well, think about it. Historically, having the body is usually seen as the basic proof of death, right? Especially for someone this famous.
Yeah, absolutely.
So its absence creates this vacuum, uncertainty. Like your source says, this specific gap made people really question, okay, but is he really dead? It just blew the door open for other ideas.
Okay, so beyond the official story and its, let's say, missing pieces, the source brings in a third angle, which is pretty fascinating. Reports of people seeing someone like him, but after 1945.
Yes. This is where things get even murkier. Your material clearly states that after the date he supposedly died, different people claimed they'd actually seen Netaji in various places.
Wow. Did the source say where these sightings happened? That seems pretty critical to the whole he survived idea.
It does mention a couple of places.
Yeah.
Claims he was seen in Russia, and also, interestingly, back in India itself, living secretly, apparently.
Huh.
So these sightings, whether they were real or not, they became, powerful fuel for the idea that he might have survived, as presented in your material.
It really shows how hope, mixed with a lack of hard facts, can lead people down different paths, doesn't it? Which brings us to a very specific, kind of famous part of this whole mystery that your material includes, the Gumnami Baba story.
Right. Your source identifies this Gumnami Baba. He was a saintly figure and ascetic living in Uttar Pradesh in India.
And the source directly links him to Bose.
It does. It notes his belief that some people held quite strongly, that this holy man, Gumnami Baba, was actually Subhas Chandra Bose, living under disguise.
That's quite a leap. What reasons does the source give for people believing that?
Well, it mentions two main things. First, that the Baba apparently looked quite a bit like Netaji. And second, after the Baba died, they found belongings, possessions that some people believed were directly connected to Bose.
Interesting.
So this story, as your source presents it, really became a kind of focal point for those convinced he hadn't died in the crash, but had come back secretly.
Okay, and then finally, the fifth point your material raises looks at the official attempts to sort this all out, the government reports.
Yeah, the source mentions the Indian government set up, I think, 3 different investigations over the years, trying to get to the bottom of Netaji's disappearance.
And did these official inquiries finally bring some clarity, some resolution, according to your source anyway?
Well, this is maybe the most telling part. Your source says, quite bluntly, that the reports were not clear. Worse than that, actually conflicting.
Conflicting? How?
It lays it out. One report basically said, yes, he died in the crash, but then another one came out saying, actually, we're not sure.
Wow, so even the official investigations, the way the source tells it, just ended up adding to the confusion instead of settling things.
That's exactly the impact noted in your material. This lack of a single, clear answer from the government itself just made people more confused, more skeptical about the original crash story. It left everyone wondering who or what to believe, even among the official findings.
So when we look at all 5 points from your material together, you know, the questions about the crash evidence, the missing body, these reported sightings, the whole Gumnami Baba thing, and then these conflicting government reports, why does this matter to you, the listener?
Well, I think
It kind of shows us how history isn't always neat and tidy, right? It reveals how when you have this absence of really clear proof and you add in competing stories and even official confusion, well, a historical event can turn into this mystery that just lasts and lasts, sparking debate decades later.
it really highlights the challenge, doesn't it? The challenge of proving history, especially when emotions run high and the official version just feels incomplete or questionable to so many. These alternative stories can become incredibly powerful.
So after all that, what does it all mean? We've taken this deep dive, looking specifically at the points raised in the source material you gave us about Subhas Chandra Bose's fate.
And based only on that material, the main takeaway is pretty simple. This mystery, it's still unsolved.
Yeah, completely. And the beliefs about what happened are just as divided now as they seem to have been right back in 1945.
Just like your source material concludes. Some people, they accept the plane crash story. Others, they're convinced he survived, lived on secretly. And then there are many who just think the real truth, whatever it is still hidden somewhere.
And your source kind of ends by turning it back to us, doesn't it? Back to you, the listener. Posing that direct question that sums up the whole puzzle we've been talking about.
Yeah, it asks point blank, what do you think? Was it really just an accident that ended Netaji's life? Or was it a cover-up, like so many have suspected for so long?
It's definitely a question that makes you think, doesn't it? About evidence and belief and how we deal with historical uncertainty when the facts are just, well, frustratingly hard to pin down.
Absolutely. It lingers.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into your source material on this really fascinating historical mystery.
Yeah, we hope exploring these specific points give you a bit more insight into why the questions around Subhas Chandra Bose's death just keep going.